Hey Rocky fans, Leandra here. Kelly and I wanted to put a content warning on this episode because this minute of the film depicts scenes that, to a modern eye, contain sexual assault. While these scenes were originally not written with that intent, we are aware that for some listeners, this discussion may need to be skipped. If you would like to pick up the conversation after we're done with these minutes, check back in at minute 56. Rocky Horror Minute is rated R. The Rocky Horror Picture Show is also rated R. We're going to spend this time discussing the movie in gory detail, and along the road we will talk about some adult content and use some of our favorite swear words.
Heat stall, lose tie, cat pole, knot tease.
Consider yourselves warned.
Welcome to Rocky Horror Minute, the podcast where we discuss the Rocky Horror Picture Show in excruciating detail 1 minute at a time. I'm one of your hosts, Kelly.
And I'm your other host, Leandra.
And today we are discussing minute 53 of the Rocky Horror Picture Show.
Do you think that we will get through this without talking about the Omegaverse?
I would say that we already have failed for those of us who listen to the curse words.
Oh no.
Yeah. What happens in minute 53, Leandra?
In minute 53 of the Rocky Horror Picture Show, we begin with Riff Raff throwing a lit candle down the elevator shaft at Rocky. We cut to a view of Rocky climbing down the shaft to the first floor, chains dangling from each ankle. We then return to the lab to see Riff put the candelabra down on a table that seems to have suddenly appeared. Riff and Magenta slowly turn toward each other, do a slow round of elbow sex, followed by Riff embracing Magenta tightly and sucking on the left side of her neck. Magenta squeaks in delight at this. We cut back to Rocky jumping out of the shaft of the elevator onto the first floor and running for what he may hope is an exit. He turns right at the corner and we don't see him after that. With Rocky now on the loose and Riff and Magenta otherwise occupied, we now go back to a bedroom, this time with Brad attempting to sleep. His glasses still on, his arms crossed in front of him like a corpse. The bedroom door opens, Brad checks the watch on his left hand, and Janet's voice is heard saying, "Oh Brad, darling, it's no good here, it'll destroy us." A figure with somewhat the silhouette of Janet, with long curly hair wearing a pink robe, moves onto the bed to embrace Brad. I want you to note, even with a filter in this room, it's fairly bright in there. "Don't worry, Janet," Brad says. "We'll be away from here in the morning." And then pats the figure's shoulder. Pat, pat, pat. Janet's voice says, "Oh, Brad, you're so strong and protective," while resting their head on Brad's chest. Brad pets the person's head, and in doing so pulls off their wig, revealing it to be Frank! They look at each other for a beat, and Brad says, "What? You?" and readjusts his glasses while throwing Frank off of his chest. Frank sits, straddling Brad's knees, and says, "I'm afraid so, Brad, but isn't it nice?" and then launches himself back down to Brad's face. Brad pushes Frank away again, and angrily says, "Why, you," pausing to quickly turn his head toward the bedroom door, "what have you done with Janet?" Frank says, "Nothing." But I'm sure he means more than that. We'll find out next minute.
What a minute. And by what a minute, I mean not that much happens in this minute.
Kelly, I have a question for you.
Let's go.
What's elbow sex? Can you walk me through it? Explain like I'm 5.
Okay. Elbow sex, and this is not technically the first time we see it in the movie, but this is the first time it's really highlighted in a way that people would pay attention to. Riff and Magenta face each other and sort of face their palms towards each other and touch palms, and then slowly, or sometimes quicker, they will touch palms and then lower on the arms until they touch elbows, and they do sort of a sweeping upward motion. All I know about it is what Richard O'Brien and Patricia Quinn alluded to in the commentary, which is basically, it sounds like they had some discussion and came up with like a secret hand signal for the aliens to have together. But do you know any more details on it than that? Like,
No.
yeah. I mean, honestly, I doubt there is more to it. They wanted a fun little moment and like a little thing that they could do together, and they just came up with something that would look like an alien secret handshake, basically.
An alien secret handshake that looks incredibly horny.
It does, well, but that's just the way they act. In previous minutes, we discussed how Patricia Quinn denies that there was any incest in the movie and came to the conclusion that she must be joking. I am no longer of the opinion that she's joking, because I re-listened to the commentary for this minute, and she is so insistent that that was never her intention, that was never in her mind, and that was all something that the perverted fans made up. And I don't think she's kidding. So I actually, if it's okay, I just want to share that clip with you, Leandra.
Absolutely.
Well, I never knew this was going on. I mean, you know that I never thought had anything to do with incest. I mean, and then I suddenly thought, what's going on here? I saw a little Dracula kiss. You know, so as I say, I never had in my mind incest with my brother. Because we'd made the sign together, and then the fans decided that was an incestuous thing.
Yeah.
What do they call it? An elbow fuck. Sorry. Yes.
Oh, I'm rather shocked.
I'm sorry. But that's what they call it. An elbow. What's another word for fuck?
Well, do we need one?
Well, I don't know. So that people might have to be cut.
Well, we don't.
What do you do when... What do you do when
elbow
you copulate?
Sex. When you say
copulate.
When you say
an elbow copulation.
Okay.
And then that's what they all think we're doing. And I thought, no, we're making our Transylvanian sign, you idiots.
Yeah. But
it's when you bit my neck, then they really thought he's up to no good.
It's the chemistry between us, love.
Well, I had none at all. I was just doing my job. And you were my brother doing your work.
Doing his sister.
Not in my game, no.
I think that was always present in my mind.
Well, it might have been in yours, but it wasn't in mine.
I think it builds. I think it works, because the innocence of you seems like indifference. Cool indifference to the whole kind of idea. Go, oh yes, go on then, Riff Raff, if you want to, you know. Oh dear. You all right now? Are you happy now? Yeah, good. Off you go. Toddle off.
I wish I'd known.
So what I'm gleaning from this is that Patricia Quinn later pitched an idea to the Folger Coffee Company about a really great Christmas commercial.
I mean, she literally, on the commentary, is saying that while we watch Riff kissing her neck. And you heard her say, like, oh, our little Dracula kiss. Like, no, he is full on giving you a hickey, girl. And it's established that it's your brother.
Brother, you're my Christmas present.
You're my present this year. I need to know if she takes the same stance about shock treatment, because if so, I'm sorry, Patricia Quinn, you're being deliberately obtuse. There is no way, for those of you who have seen shock treatment, there's no way you can deny that pair of siblings is fucking. It almost happens on screen.
They at least have a riding crop.
They at least are getting into bed together while whipping each other and, like, singing about sexual deviancy. So...
You know, just siblings doing sibling things, I guess.
And by deviancy, I mean deviance.
Okay.
I used the wrong word again. Or I used a non-word. Anyway.
Yeah.
I'm sure we've got some very pedantic listeners who were mentally adjusting their idea of my intelligence, which should have already been pretty low based on some things that have happened, but you know.
Keep aiming lower.
What?
She's gonna trip over that bar one day.
I just thought that clip was so interesting. Thank you for letting me share that. I'm glad that Richard O'Brien at least had the bravery to say, I always planned on this being incest. It's incest, girl.
Yeah, I can appreciate maybe just the elbow sex part of it could be like...
Yeah,
maybe not sensual, but the kissing of the neck Like, come on.
I genuinely don't think the elbow sex was intended to be a sex act or gesture. It, even in the movie, to me, it reads as more of like a conspiratorial secret handshake.
Exactly.
And they do it whenever they're like sneakily enacting their plans, usually.
And the music always goes with it. Like in this one, it's bum, 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 bum.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really interesting... I think that really adds to the moment.
Yeah. So, I have very, very few notes on this minute other than what we've already kind of brought up. I really thought that it was a fun shot of Rocky climbing down the elevator shaft. On the first floor, you can see the ceiling, and it's got this very ornate molding in a geometric and floral pattern, almost like a filigree. And I just think that that's a lovely little touch.
It definitely is. I was wondering, what is Riff feeling when he throws the candle down the shaft? Is he, like, frustrated? Is he just continuing to be mischievous?
It could be both. It might be one of those, like, well, shit, I didn't want you to actually escape. Beans, here you go.
Meh.
Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's an interesting little gesture that I never really noticed before I watched this movie for the podcast.
It's nice, though. It's a fun moment for riffraffs.
Yeah, he's always thinking of something to do, you know, Richard
Yeah.
O'Brien. I mean, he makes sure that he makes use of his stage time, much like Patricia Quinn.
Absolutely. So, next thing that I particularly enjoy as a little, like, blink and you'll miss it, is you can see that someone is pulling the canopy closed when Tim Curry gets into the bed. The drape or the curtain, I guess, just seems to move on its own in a way that doesn't make sense, meaning that there must be like a stagehand right next to the bed, or maybe like a sound person, and they're just sitting on the ground going, okay, well, this is where I am now. Must not be in the shot. Did you notice that before?
I did not. I actually didn't even notice it when I was watching the minutes for this podcast recording, so I'll have to go back and look now.
It's one of those things where you just go like, wait, what? Yeah. No. That's not how fabric works. And I know in previous minutes we've spoken about bed tricks and just the question of consent. And I don't want to belabor that point, but I will say that this scene continues to reinforce my opinion that Brad and Janet are very much, like, at least somewhat in on it. They can very clearly see that that's Frank. Particularly in this, like, you can see, as the audience, you can see Frank's face if you're squinting hard enough.
Yeah, I actually had the same note. I am, like, fully, after rewatching this minute, I'm fully team they knew it was Frank and were playing along, because you can see through the sheet, at least in the Blu-ray rip, because there's not as much of a filter on it. You can see what we talked about in previous minutes, where, like, Frank is wearing no wig cap and all of his black hair is very clearly just sticking out under the Janet wig that's, like, barely lying on top of it. And he is not acting in a way that Janet has ever acted in her life.
Now, whether or not it was the intent originally for it to be played that Brad and Janet are actually willing participants, I don't think so. I think that we are over-contextualizing, but I'm comfortable with that, because it does make it more palatable to a modern audience.
Well, just like, it's like, what was your first clue, Brad? It can't have been the hair coming off. 'Cause when has Janet ever been like, oh, Brad, you're so strong and protective? Like, you know, she's not like that.
And she looks directly at you and then puts her head on your chest, and you pat her on her very, very muscular, broad shoulders for Janet. There's a lot that makes me go, that's interesting. Yeah. I mean, I was really trying to think, okay, if we are just saying that this is straight up a bed trick, and, like, obviously that was what they were going for, It must be that they're under some sort of alien hypnosis.
That's fair.
I mean, the intent, unfortunately, wasn't that they were in on the fun. I really don't think.
No.
So that is why we have those content warnings at the beginning of these minutes.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, yeah. It's just a fun way to think about it, but especially like watching it back, it's really, really obviously not Susan Sarandon, even through the sheet, so just a thought.
You're a thought.
I sure am.
But those were my only notes. What else do you have?
No other notes, I just have callbacks. I don't have many of those either. Of course, in the lead up to the elbow sex, people chant elbow sex, and then cheer when it is completed. It's not the first time that's going to happen.
Do you mean it's not the last time that's going to happen?
Oh, yes. It is the first time it happens, although the first time you see elbow sex is, of course, during the time warp when Riff and Magenta quickly do it as they're dancing. When Rocky's, like, running all through the house. Is it now or is it later that people say, "Where's the bathroom?"
I think that they say it now.
Yeah, it's just where's the bathroom in this place or something. And just this is where you would get a reprisal of "Don't Touch the Hair."
And I do like that.
Mm-hmm.
I like it more in this minute even because it's ridiculous.
Oh yeah, all of the callbacks from Janet's sex scene that get repeated or referenced in some way here, it's like so much funnier the second time. Like, I think it's genuinely a great bit of comedy that the two sex scenes are very similar in script, and like, I think that's a great gag.
Yeah.
That's all I had, though.
So my callbacks, I like when Riff Raff is throwing the candle down the elevator shaft. You can say, "It's dangerous to go alone. Here, take this."
That's a good one.
I think that one's cute. Sometimes at the end of the elbow sex chant, people will go, elbow sex, elbow sex, elbow-gasm, which is, like, fun. I dislike a lot, but hear it every time, and sometimes even say it, despite disliking it a lot.
Yeah, I was about to
Show us how you pop your sister's zits.
I hate that one. It makes me retch, and I was about to yell at you for saying you don't like it, because you do it every time.
I do it every time, and every time I go, I hate this! Yeah. Why am I like this?
I hate you.
Oh, no you don't.
But yes, and that is when Leandra...
Oh, I thought that you were going to say, and that is when Leandra stares off into the middle distance and wishes that she was doing something else with her time. No, the shows how you pop your sister's zits, that should happen when Riff Raff is kissing or sucking on Magenta's neck.
Okay, let's move on.
And when she giggles and snorts, you can say, "Take her back, she squeaks."
Yeah, that's pretty good. I kind of like... I really play up the squeak, too, when I play Magenta.
I have, and I haven't brought this out in a while, because it takes a little bit of coordinating with your riffraff. I have a squeak toy, like just the squeaker part of it, and I'll put that under my bra strap on the left side, and then riffraff can mash it with their nose so it sounds like I'm squeaking.
I will say that often when I'm Magenta and Leandra's riff, she blows loud raspberries on my neck for an insane amount of time.
Because that's funny.
It is funny every time.
Yes.
I should get like a vuvuzela or something.
Yeah. Or not.
See, I think that everyone on cast could benefit from a vuvuzela.
Is that how it's pronounced? I've been calling it a vuvuzela. I might just be dumb.
I have no idea. I always just assumed.
Listeners, which way is correct?
I have looked it up. It is, as you say, vuvuzela. I'm your alpha.
No, you're simply not.
Well,
I've made you look ridiculous for the first time ever.
you just made me look dumb for the first time ever. Yeah, okay. Wow, I had no idea. Vuvuzela. Well, anyway, I'm gonna buy one. For the cast.
Okay.
I'm gonna let Oscar hold it a lot.
It will make him very happy.
Yeah.
So next up on my list of callbacks, you can say Rocky Horror Sex Scene, take 2, or never worry, never fear, Frank the Wonderfuck is here, bigger, little, thicker, thin, Vaseline will get it in, 2, 4, 6, 8, Frankie fucks are always great, go Frankie, part 2, Electric Boogaloo.
Oh yeah, I guess I forgot we can also, this is also sometimes when you'll get same room, different filter, cheap movie.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes you get it here, sometimes you get it when Brad first enters his room.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sometimes both.
Yep,
Audiences aren't
absolutely
great at picking one.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got Name That Pokemon right before you.
That's funny.
When Janet says, Brad, you're so strong and protective, you can say, just like a condom. When Brad says, what have you done with Janet? This is another one that isn't good. It's gross. I say it every time. Kelly loves it. It's fucked the shit out of her, and now I'm going to fuck it into you.
Yeah.
That is Kelly's favorite, actually.
Oh, is it?
I believe it is.
I see.
Yes.
Got any more?
That is it.
Oh. Well, that was a nice petite little minute, much like me. Petite.
Yeah.
Shy.
And shy.
Yeah.
Beautiful, but doesn't know it.
Yeah.
I will shamelessly plug, until I forget about it again, that we're apparently going to do Christmas cards, and the first 200 people to email us their address.
Well, that's 10 times the number of people that will listen to this podcast. So.
That's not fair.
No,
We've
it's
got
not.
plenty
It's
of
not
listeners.
fair. No, we do have a good number of listeners.
Yeah.
Even you.
Yes,
so if you want a Christmas card.
you in particular.
Yeah.
You should give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts, and you should also email us at rockyhorrorminute@gmail.com with your mailing address so you can get the official Rocky Horror Minute Christmas card.
I think you're adorable.
Ugh.
Do you know what that's a reference to?
No.
Listeners, I'm going to make Leandra watch the Star Wars Holiday Special with me.
Oh, wait, no, I have seen that, and I'm not seeing it again.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what the ASMR sex robot that Itchy is watching says to him that makes him start to, I believe, come in his fursuit, so...
That's awful.
Yep. We are watching
I
it.
had forgotten that, and you can have it on, and my eyes can be open, but you cannot make me pay attention.
Clockwork Orange.
Anyway, let's end this the way we always end it with...
Now,
you don't have to go home, but you can't stay here, so get the fuck out! Yeah, we did it.
We did it. That was awesome.
Double feature picture show.
Glandless, referring to a person without tact, someone that cannot pick up on the olfactory cues in the environment they are currently in.